Hello all, my name is Michaela Bledsoe with Texas Women's University. Today I'll talk about my research project proposal, Cultural Confluence, the role of Texas University programs on South Korean international students' cultural integration. Let's get started. This research project focuses on the role of university-led language and cultural exchange programs in the acculturation of South Korean international students. Specifically, it explores how both the rural and urban Texas universities differ in their influence on cultural integration. Through the study, it aims to understand how these exchange programs can impact students' experience and provide recommendations to improve student support depending on if they are located in a rural or urban area, and give more information to visiting international students so they can better decide what university setting would best suit their needs. This study is particularly relevant as universities continue to adapt to the growing number of international students. Language and cultural exchange programs play a crucial role in helping international students adjust to their new environments. These programs offer opportunities to practice language skills, develop cultural competency, and build connections that ease their transition. For South Korean students, these programs are especially valuable in helping them overcome language barriers, which, as research has indicated, can be one of the main sources of stress and isolation that they face. These allow students to engage in informal interactions and gain confidence in their English speaking abilities, which is essential for both their academic and personal growth. In the context of this study, the distinction between rural and urban settings is important. Universities in rural areas may offer fewer resources and less diverse student populations, which can contribute to feelings of isolation for international students, but may be a source of motivation for them to further integrate themselves into the culture. In contrast, urban universities tend to have more resources, greater cultural diversity, and a more vibrant international student community. However, they may feel more inclined to participate with students of their country of origin instead of integrating into the local culture. These differences likely affect the experience of South Korean students, both in terms of their ability to integrate culturally and their access to support systems, such as student organizations and academic assistance. Previous studies, like those by Moon et al., have highlighted how these environmental factors influence students' overall satisfaction and well-being. Now, acculturation is the process through which international students adapt to their host country's culture. It involves not just learning the language, but also adjusting to the social norms, academic expectations, and personal identity shifts. For South Korean students, this process can be particularly challenging due to the differences in educational practices, social interaction styles, and even emotional expectations. Moon et al. Also noted that South Korean students often struggle with group work and informal classroom interactions, which is greatly different than their more structured hierarchical systems that they experience in their academic settings in South Korea. These adjustments are necessary for them to thrive academically and socially in the U.S. Barry's model of acculturation outlines the four strategies that individuals use when adapting to a new culture: integration, assimilation, separation, and marginalization. Integration involves balancing one's original country identity with active participation in the host culture. This model is useful for understanding how South Korean students navigate their cultural integration. Some may choose to integrate fully into the U.S. culture, while others may experience marginalization, particularly in rural settings with fewer cultural resources available. This study explains and examines how the university environment influences their ability to integrate, particularly focused on how urban versus rural campuses facilitate or hinder this process. Previous literature has highlighted the various barriers and stressors that international students face, such as language proficiency difficulties, social isolation, and adjusting to unfamiliar academic systems. These challenges can significantly affect the acculturation process and overall well-being for this population of students. In particular, South Korean students are often caught between the pressures to maintain their cultural identity and the need to adapt to the U.S. cultural norms. Studies by IN suggest that acculturation is closely linked to career decision-making, self-efficacy, and showing that those who experience greater cultural integration tend to be more confident in their career choices. Conversely, students who struggle with acculturation often face difficulties in making informed decisions about their future. Previous academic literature suggests that effective cultural exchange programs should focus on providing social support, language assistance, and community building activities. Programs should also consider the unique needs of international students from different backgrounds and regions. According to Rue et al., universities that offer culturally sensitive programs and social support networks experience greater student satisfaction and a higher rate of successful acculturation. For South Korean students who are more likely to experience culture and emotional stress, these programs can play a pivotal role in reducing isolation and fostering a sense of belonging in their host country. Research has also shown that the experience of international students in rural versus urban universities can differ greatly. Urban institutions often have more international students, diverse faculty, and stronger support networks, whereas rural institutions may not have as many resources and a less diverse student body. According to Ed Triana, students at urban universities benefit from increased opportunities for social integration, exposure to diverse perspectives, and easier access to specialized support services. In rural areas, students may experience more pronounced challenges due to lack of diversity and fewer cultural support structures. The central focus of this research revolves around the impact that the type of university, rural or urban, has on the acculturation process, specifically the cultural integration aspect of this process, for international students, specifically those from South Korea. Furthermore, it explores how university-led exchange culture programs shape the cultural integration and suggests possible improvements to these programs based on their findings. Given the challenges that international students face, understanding how the university setting impacts their experience will help guide future program development and help students make informed decisions when they decide to study abroad. The purpose of the study is to understand the role of university-led exchange programs in the cultural integration of South Korean international students, specifically comparing the effects of rural and urban universities in Texas. By analyzing how these programs influence students' academic and social experiences, this research will inform both the decisions of international students choosing where to study and the policies of the university institutions to improve support for this population of students. Our research question is, how do semester-long university-led language and cultural exchange programs influence the cultural integration of South Korean international students, particularly in rural versus urban universities? It is hypothesized that South Korean students in urban universities will experience greater cultural integration due to better access to resources, greater faculty diversity, and more diverse student populations, all of which will contribute to a richer, more supportive environment for this population of students. This study will involve 12 participants with gender and age being mixed. However, all participants will be older than 18 years old, so they are not considered a minor. All participants will be South Korean international students enrolled in Texas public universities. The recruitment process will include outreach through international student offices and student organizations, such as the Korean Student Association organization. Given the difference in rural and urban settings, participants will be selected from both types of institutions to ensure a balanced perspective of the impacts of these environments on the acculturation process. This study will employ a qualitative research design using phenomenological interviews. These interviews will be conducted either in person or via Zoom and will last approximately 60 minutes per participant. Participants will be asked to reflect on their experiences in the exchange program and how their cultural integration was influenced by the university setting. Therefore, these interviews will use a semi-structured model. The approach will also allow for deeper understanding of the personal and emotional aspects of the acculturation process. Additionally, participants will be invited to share artifacts of the experience that they've captured throughout their semester involved in the language exchange program, such as videos, scrapbooks, journal entries, or photography. These artifacts will help stimulate discussion and provide deeper insight into their personal acculturation journeys. This will offer tangible examples of how students perceive their integration into campus life and the challenges they faced along the way throughout the semester of involvement in the program. Data will be analyzed using thematic coding and in vivo to identify key themes related to student experiences. The primary focus will be comparing the experience of students in rural and urban universities. By identifying patterns in the data, we can better understand how each setting supports or hinders cultural integration and which aspects of the exchange program are most effective for this population of students. Some limitations of this study include the small sample size, potential self-reporting bias since students are self-reflecting on their own experiences, and a lack of diversity in the sample since we are just focused on South Korean international students. The study will rely on convenient sampling, which may limit the generability of the findings. Additionally, participants may not fully be able to capture the nuanced challenges of acculturation, given that their reflections may be influenced by their current emotional or academic status. And also, to ensure validity and fidelity, we will have collaborative coding with a bilingual research team member to make sure that no language nuances are left uncovered and that all thematic coding is agreed upon. This study has important implications for university policymaking and international student support service development. The findings may inform decisions regarding resource allocation, resource prioritization, and budget allocation, as well as student support strategies and how exchange programs can better serve their international student population. Future research could expand this study through longitudinal approaches to see a before and after effect for participation in these cultural and linguistic exchange programs. Additionally, you can look into pairing international students with domestic students to explore how cross-cultural integration can have long-term effects on academic and personal success in regards to cultural integration, acculturation. Here are the articles that I used to influence my research project. Thank you once again for your time today in learning about my research project. Once again, my name is Michaela Bledsoe. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me to my email below.